Really, it's pretty crazy how much can change in pro wrestling in just, a few hours? If you were to tell me, from earlier today after the news broke that Becky Lynch was going to be removed from the Survivor Series pay-per-view, really the one match that was worthy of even watching the event, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, that was the one matchup that people were really sort of looking forward to watching. It was sort of going to be a really disappointing pay-per-view. If you were to tell me that just hours after that, we would all be talking about a dream matchup happening at the Survivor Series, really a last-minute booking, I don't know if I would have believed it. But just earlier on Smackdown, the WWE set up another showdown between AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. And, people were sort of disappointed, like I just mentioned, about the Becky Lynch Ronda Rousey match being called off. If you weren't watching Monday Night Raw last night, Becky Lynch got busted open. According to the WWE, she broke her face. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but I'm guessing maybe there's some sort of orbital bone. She had a black eye, maybe a broken nose, but they said she broke her face. It's Becky Lynch. She's a badass now. Fine, she broke her face. But a lot of people were talking about how Survivor Series lost the one match that everyone was excited to watch. Well, so the WWE puts together this Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match, and I gotta say, from hearing about it, I thought, it was just gonna be another AJ Styles Daniel Bryan match. AJ's gonna win. He's at over close to 400, not 400, but he was over 300 days as the WWE champion. He's not gonna lose it to Daniel Bryan the week before, not even, just days before the Survivor Series pay-per-view. AJ Styles has already been announced to fight Brock Lesnar. Yes, cards can change, yada yada yada, but this one, especially after the Becky Lynch Ronda Rousey match changes up, they weren't going to change anything else about it, right? Well, Daniel Bryan turns heel at Smackdown Live, beats AJ Styles, and wins the WWE title, which means, and this has been a long time dream match of mine, we have Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. Incredible. Now, let's put aside the Daniel Bryan turning heel thing. Yes, people don't like him as a heel. I personally think Daniel Bryan's always been a much better face, but the guy's got talent. I enjoyed his heel run in the WWE too, when he was sort of like that conniving heel when he was with AJ Lee, if you recall, when he lost to Sheamus in a few seconds at WrestleMania. That part I didn't like, but anyway, this guy could do it all when it comes to face, heel. He's just a natural face, but guy's got the talent to put off the heel work too. But who cares about that? We're literally getting a dream match here. Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. If you don't think this is a dream match, then I implore you to please, within the time between now and Survivor Series on Sunday, go look up Daniel Bryan's Ring of Honor stuff against Morishima. The underdog qualities that Daniel Bryan has, just the natural underdog, really gimmick he lives. You could see it throughout his run in the WWE, his infamous rise to WrestleMania, where he really did get behind the fans, and the fans got behind him, and they really changed that WrestleMania card that year. WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan was literally pushed into the main event by wrestling fans. But his best work as an underdog, as just the best in the world, a guy you just want to watch win. The David versus Goliath matchup was his, just watch all the matches he had in Ring of Honor with Morishima. Just incredible stuff. You could see Daniel Bryan was already a great wrestler by then. He was the American Dragon. Everyone already knew he was the best in the world. He was Ring of Honor's really main star during that time. And Morishima comes in, this huge Japanese star, and he just really just for the indies at the very least, but even beyond that, Morishima was a monster. He even had some WWE tryouts later on in his career. The dude is just, Brock Lesnar status. And Daniel Bryan really stepped up his game. He always is great, but really, the way he changed his style when facing Morishima, just the perfect sort of David versus Goliath pro wrestling matchup. And I am excited to see this done with Brock Lesnar. I'm so pumped. I'm literally at a loss for words. I remember back in 2014 when Daniel Bryan had that neck surgery. If you remember, he came back later on at the Royal Rumble, and everyone was excited for him to come back, only for him to get knocked out of the Royal Rumble midway through. But let's back it up a little bit still. So he comes back from that neck surgery, and there was interviews with him where he really said he wants to face Brock Lesnar. That was the one guy he wants to come back for and face. And then he returns for the 2015 Royal Rumble, and he's still talking about facing Brock Lesnar. In fact, his hope at the time was to win the Royal Rumble and face Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania. I remember thinking, oh man, what a comeback, what a story that would be, and that would be a dream WrestleMania main event, let alone a dream matchup on its own as the main event of WrestleMania. Oh man, come on. But of course that didn't happen. Daniel Bryan fought for the Intercontinental title at that WrestleMania, and that was also the WrestleMania that had the first of the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar matchups, the one where the crowd basically poo-pooed all over the main event. But Daniel Bryan, of course, we all know what happened with his retirement from wrestling, and then finally getting that doctor's approval to come back to the ring. And we've been watching him slowly, make his way back up the card. But I think everyone sort of gave up on that sort of dream matchup between Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan. A lot of people think that Brock Lesnar's style would be too dangerous for Bryan at this point in his career, especially with his neck injury and his injuries from concussion related. But I think people really underestimate. It's really just people who are really crapping on Lesnar at this point. People who are pissed at his contract and how he isn't on every Raw, and not even just that, he isn't on every pay-per-view event. But really, the guy just knows what his gimmick and his angle and his role is with the company right now. So he comes in, does his Suplex City shtick, which I personally enjoy. I think it's great. It fits his character fantastic. You really have to look at Brock Lesnar as sort of that, the final boss after the specialty boss after the final boss. You beat the video game, you defeat the final boss, you think it's over, but boom, here comes this one final challenge that you have to accept, and it isn't until you beat this guy that you win the game. And of course, this special boss might have some repetitive sort of special maneuvers, but he is what he is. He's that special character at the end of the game. That's sort of how I view Brock Lesnar. He is a specialty character. I mean, he's not on every event. Only a certain number of guys get to face him. And it's because if you get to face Brock Lesnar, that in and of itself propels you to a different level. Really, in my opinion. And if you get to defeat Brock Lesnar, or even get him to face him in a competitive match, you're looked at in a different way by the fans, because you face this specialty character. And Daniel Bryan's finally going to face Brock Lesnar. And regardless of what happens, Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan are going to have a fantastic match, because those are two guys that can go. And come on, even for you Brock Lesnar naysayers, you don't think Brock Lesnar is going to give it his all in that match? You don't think he realizes the talent that Daniel Bryan is? This is going to be a fantastic matchup. Brock Lesnar will clearly take care of Daniel Bryan. The respect he has for Daniel Bryan, obviously. But beyond that, he's just a professional. Come on. But just, again, go back if you have time between now and Sunday at the Survivor Series pay-per-view. Look up Daniel Bryan versus Morishima matches in Ring of Honor. They're fantastic, and that's what I think, that's what I hope at least, we will see at the Survivor Series.